What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college basketball. And today we are talking the Wednesday, January the 21st slate. Before we get started, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a like on the video. Those two things help us immensely. It gets us in front of new viewers and allows us to continue doing this in the future. So thank you if you have done that. It really does mean a lot. As we discuss these breakdowns, we will talk sides and totals. So if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We're going to kick things off in the SEC today. Texas is taking on Kentucky. Kentucky is a 7-point favorite in this game. The total is 154.5. No major injuries on the Texas side, but Kentucky's Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance are out. To get here, Texas comes in as the number 40 team in the country per KenPom. We use them instead of the AP or some other ranking sources because of accuracy. They're just more accurate. Understand if you have qualms with that, but that's what we're going to go with. They're 11-7. A couple bad losses for them. Drop games to Arizona State, Mississippi State, both of them by single digits, but those two teams are outside the top 80. They also have 4 losses to top 25 teams. Some of those closer than others. UConn was the only one they actually kept within single digits, but kind of is what it is. Wins. This team beat Alabama by 4 points on the road, and they just knocked off Vanderbilt. That one they did in pretty resounding fashion. That was last week. Those are 2 top 20 wins. However, they do only have 1 road win, and they have the 42nd ranked strength of schedule. So it's not always looking great on this Texas resume. It's very up and down. Kentucky is similar. They do come in 24th at KenPom, 12-6 overall. They have losses to Louisville, Michigan State, North Carolina, Gonzaga, Alabama, and Missouri. The only one outside the top 50 was Missouri, but some of these closer than others, especially games against Michigan State and Gonzaga, they kind of got blown out in those. 2 top 25 wins for this team. St. John's and Tennessee, both of them were fairly close. Next best wins for them are Indiana and LSU. So their strength of schedule ranks 23rd. It's a bit better than Texas, but they also have some up and down results. Stylistically, Texas is 56th in height. Kentucky is 31st. Rebounding, both these teams are good. Texas is 17th. Kentucky is 35th. And both of them are strong at both ends of the floor. Texas is the worst shooting team. They're 83rd overall. Pretty good inside, but then you get to the perimeter where they are 182nd, which is a problem. They don't have a lot of perimeter shooting. Now, they don't really try. They're 197th. Their best perimeter shooters are Jordan Pope at 37%, and then Cam Heide gives you a little bit of spacing. He is at 41% from 3, but he doesn't shoot a ton. Most of this is going to come through their front court. They largely win via rebounding. That's going to be tough in this game, or shots from the perimeter based off kicks. Kentucky is 56th in total defense, 99th inside, 60th on the perimeter. Otega always an elite perimeter defender, and the rim protection for Kentucky seems to be improving as Cam Williams and Malachi Moreno play a little bit more. I still have questions with that unit, but I'm not sure it's going to be easy for Texas to run up and down the floor and score in this team. Meanwhile, Kentucky is 53rd in effective field goal percent. Another team that's been better playing through their post. They're 126th in three-point percent and also not shooting a ton of threes. 170th in three-point rate. Colin Chandler, Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe are all above 37%. But again, they're usually using their front court, which is not the best idea against Texas, who is 247th on the perimeter, 42nd inside. But Texas really only has one good defender in Dalen Swain, who's a good wing defender. He's 6'8". It's not easy to score on him, but ultimately the Kentucky offense has been up and down throughout the season. Neither team turns the ball over often. Kentucky does force more of them. The edge is 175 to 305. But Texas, they generate more fouls than any team in the country. Kentucky can get in foul trouble. I mean, bench minutes kind of favors Kentucky. But at the same time, they come in 61st in bench minutes partially because they've had a lot of injuries. This could be an issue for them. Texas is going to shoot a ton of free throws. Tempo-wise, it's about middling in this game. Our score prediction based on the model was 75.9 to 85.1. So we do show value on a Texas side. Played it plus a 7.5. This is volatile with both of these teams not being the best offensively. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not the most optimistic on the Texas side, but the number is too good to not play at this point. 7, I think, is okay. Fun Mountain West clash between San Diego State and Grand Canyon. This line has bounced back and forth between 1 on both sides. Currently, Grand Canyon is favored by a point. The total is 143.5. No major injuries. San Diego State is the higher power rated team. They are 47th. Grand Canyon is 85th. San Diego State is also 13-4. They have one bad loss to Troy in overtime by 1 point, who is ranked 111th. Otherwise, their losses are to Michigan, Arizona, and Baylor. So that's teams 1, 2, and 41. The Baylor game was a 10-point loss. They got slaughtered by Arizona and Michigan. That's what happens when you play two top 2 teams. But the real concern with San Diego State, if you have one, is, okay, their losses are somewhat redeemable. They have one top 50 win over New Mexico. They have a couple top 100 wins, Oregon, Utah Valley, Boise, Nevada. They do have 3 road wins. Strength of schedule is pretty good at 51st. I tend to think this body work is better than a lot of people's, considering what they've played at the top. Grand Canyon is 85th overall. They are 11-6. They took a couple bad losses. The worst one being to Youngstown State. They lost by 9 at home. Youngstown State is 208. Otherwise, Oklahoma State, Colorado State, and then New Mexico is another mutual opponent. They took a loss there. Grand Canyon's top 100 wins come against Boise State and Utah State. The Utah State win is a very good one. Believe it or not, Utah State comes in 22nd in the country. This is a great team. Grand Canyon does have the 138th ranked strength of schedule, so there's a pretty big gap between these two teams. When you start looking at some of the stylistics, San Diego State, they come in 177th in height, 152nd in rebounding. They are not the tallest team. Grand Canyon is 29th in height, 43rd in rebounding. This means Magoon is probably going to have to stay on the floor for San Diego State. He's their 7-foot center. He dealt with some injuries, and he's really struggled to stay on the floor of late, partially performance, partially fouls. Grand Canyon, their starting lineup is using 4 guys that are at least 6'6" or taller. This is a pretty big mismatch in favor of Grand Canyon in this game. Now, their talent is a different question. San Diego State, they're 94th in effective field goal percentage. They're actually 25th in three-point percent. They just don't shoot a lot of them. 308th. It's not a team that likes to shoot threes. Instead, their best offense comes in transition. Grand Canyon limits that. Your shooters are BJ Davis and Reese Dixon Waters, 41% and 35%. That's okay. But I'm not sure you're going to get a lot of good offensive looks against this Grand Canyon team, who's 20th in total defense, 94th inside, 72nd on the perimeter. The size is really hard to score against. And this team will limit transition opportunities where San Diego State has been strong. So with like Jaden Henley, Nana Owusu, and 9, it's going to be tough. Now, Grand Canyon's even worse at scoring than San Diego State, and by a wide margin. This team is 217th in effective field goal percentage and 329th in three-point percent. They can't shoot at all. And they're 201st in three-point rate. That's average. Their only decent shooter is Caleb Shaw at 39%. They play a lot of high-low stuff. That's not ideal against San Diego State, especially if Magoon Gwath can return to form. Magoon Gwath is a top 5 defender in this conference, along with Miles Bird. San Diego State is 22nd in total defense. They're extremely good inside, 33rd. A little limited on the perimeter, but they're still 126. This is not a good matchup for Grand Canyon. And this profiles really is more of a defensive struggle than anything else. Both teams struggle with turnovers. San Diego State is better at forcing them. They're 25th. Grand Canyon 105th. Both teams can struggle with foul trouble. Grand Canyon is 17th in fouls generated. San Diego State is 271st. So both these teams have some micro edges on the periphery. And tempo is a little above average, but not by much. San Diego State 126th. Grand Canyon 161st. Model actually has this San Diego State favored by a 1/10 of a point. We have it 70.9 to 70.8. With the 1-point spread, you could look at San Diego State. I'm interested there. Playing on the road is hard, and I'm still not sure about the minute situation with Magoon Gwath. If he can't stay on the floor, that could be impactful in favor of Grand Canyon. So this is just going to be a lean for us and not one we likely play without additional line movement. Big Ten contest still will never be used to this. Washington going to Nebraska, 11.5-point spread, a 151 total. Injuries are important in this game. Desmond Claude missed their last game. He's only played 8 minutes in their last 3. It's a weird situation. I don't know. But they did return Wesley Yates and Jacob Ognesevich, 2 players that are expected to be important contributors. That was Ognesevich's first game. Nebraska just Connor Siege, and he's been out for a while. Washington is 52nd in the country, 10-8 overall. Losses outside the top 40 to Baylor, Colorado, UCLA, Seattle. Obviously, the Seattle one being the worst. That was a 4-point loss on the road. Seattle is 125th in the country. Washington only has 2 top 50 wins against USC and Ohio State. They have 2 road wins. Their strength of schedule is 15th. So there is some hope for Washington yet, but they need to kind of make a run, and that would start here by picking up their best win of the season if they can do it. A road win against Nebraska would go a long way because Nebraska is 13th in the country. They're undefeated. They don't have the best body of work, but they did beat Wisconsin by 30 points. They knocked off Illinois on the road, beat Michigan State by 2, Ohio State, Indiana. 7 of their wins have been by single digits. The strength of schedule is 44th. It's not the best. But I mean, when you stack up that many wins, it's just, you can't really poke any holes in Nebraska being undefeated right now. But it's an interesting matchup because Washington is really, really tall. They're 24th in height, 65th in rebounding. Nebraska is 99th in height, 125th in rebounding. But the problem is Washington can't really play offense. They're 216th in effective field goal percentage, 312th in three-point percent. Not really shooting threes either. 300th in three-point rate. Kamari Peterson's their best shooter. That's not saying much. Basically, their whole offense is rebound, scramble, post up. That's a problem against Nebraska, who has overall really good defense and particularly good defense inside with like Berkey. Hoiberg's been a good defender. They're 11th overall, 35th inside. Tough matchup for Washington unless you get more out of the injured players who have returned, which could happen. Nebraska is a good shooting team. They're 26th in effective field goal, 15th inside, 88th on the perimeter, shoot a ton of threes. Price Sanford's at 41%. Jamarcus Lawrence is at 39%. Braden Frager off the bench is at 37%. And plus, Rink Mass is not a bad shooter, and he's a very good floor spacer. That's going to be important against defenders on the interior like Hannes Steinbach and Frank Kepang, who are more of like, park them in the post, don't ask them to move that much, and you'll be okay. Rink Mass is going to be a challenge for these two. And Washington, 65th in total defense, 114th inside, 87th on the perimeter. Neither team turns the ball over often. Nebraska's better at forcing them. Washington doesn't force any. Neither team really fouls. Tempo, both these teams, right around the top 200, so nothing to be seen there. Washington, I think, could have a little more juice in the tank because their roster is just a little bit better than what they've shown, and that's because of injury. But we haven't seen it yet, so I'm hesitant to play this. If you go just based on what we've had on the floor for these two teams so far, Nebraska should be favored by more. We currently make the number 80.4 for Nebraska, Washington 68.9. I tend to lean Washington just getting the reinforcements, but it's not anything I'm willing to put my money on as we wait and see how this team will fit together with their pieces that are returning from injury. To the Big 12, Cincinnati takes on Arizona. Spread is 14 in favor of Arizona, 153.5 total. Kirk Reese has been out for Cincinnati. That's not saying much, but they did get back Jizzle James, and because of that, they've been a darling in the betting markets with a lot of success, actually. Cincinnati's 54th, or 10-8, and they have losses, a couple of them pretty bad. Like this team lost to Eastern Michigan, who's 187. They lost to Xavier. They do have top 100 wins over Dayton, Colorado, and now Iowa State. They did that at home over the weekend. They do not have a road win, though, and their schedule is still 61st. So a lot of work to be done for Cincinnati. If they could knock off in Arizona, it would do a lot for their resume. But right now, firmly on the outside looking in. Arizona is number 2. They're undefeated. Elite wins over Florida, UConn, Alabama. They have 7 wins in the top 50. Only 4 of them by single digits. The strength of schedule is 36 for this team. Now, Cincinnati's an intriguing team to play. They're second in effective height, 90th in rebounding. Arizona's 30th in effective height, third in rebounding. Both teams are elite offensively and defensively. Arizona's top 10 in both metrics. So it creates kind of an interesting stylistic matchup. Cincinnati's not just going to give up on the boards and let you get whatever you want. And Cincinnati needs to board because they can't really shoot. 244th in effective field goal, 316th from three, and they're shooting a ton of threes. They're 52nd in three-point rate. So you have basically Day Thomas at 44%, Jalen Celestine, who's playing less, at 36%, and Jizzle James helps you just via like creation and stuff. But so much of your offense is just boarding with Mustafa Thiem and Baba Miller and playing inside out. Now, Arizona's good at rebounding, so do you get as many opportunities as you've gotten in previous games? I don't know. And can you score from the inside, or do you need to hit more threes than normal? Because this interior defense of Arizona is pretty good with Montejuice Krivas. Bradley's a very good on-ball defender too. Arizona's the 5th ranked defense in the country. We'll see. Arizona is 20th in effective field goal percent. And interestingly, they're bottom 3 in the nation in three-point rate, 363rd. But they're not bad at shooting threes. They're 47th in three-point percentage. So when they've put them up, they've actually been good. No one has more than 79 attempts. That's Braden Burries. This team plays in transition. They also play inside out with their post game. Again, Cincinnati, they have the size to potentially contend with Arizona. Their rim protection is solid. Sincere Harris is a good wing defender. They're 6th in total defense overall. Cincinnati is also 30th in turnovers forced. Arizona is 125th in turnovers committed. That could be a mini edge for Cincinnati. However, Arizona is also 90th in fouls generated. Cincinnati's 239th. Neither team's really fouling much, but this could be a micro edge for Arizona. Tempo is going to be fast. Cincinnati's 100th. Arizona's 25th. Our model shows value on the under. We currently have Cincinnati 66.6, Arizona 81.5. And that makes some sense when you ignore the pace. Pace is certainly what points you towards an over or a total here. But neither one of these teams really shoot. So you kind of have front court on front court battles, two huge teams with good defenses inside, which counteracts the offensive strength of each team. I'm pretty tempted here. I'm actually going to look at the current line right now. I don't know if I can get there. Yeah, still 153. I don't know. I might want an extra like point or two as we get up here, but this one is firmly on the radar. We're going to look to an under. I bet on a couple of Arizona unders this year, and I think they all have lost. So I sort of have some scar tissue in this area too. I don't know what we'll end up with. All right, let's talk some Greece before we get out of here. In the American, UTSA faces North Texas. I believe UTSA is dead last in this conference. North Texas is actually pretty good. The spread is 16.5 with a total of 138. I actually took a bad number in this game. I took a 137. It has moved up a point, so shame on me. But first of all, tempo-wise, we should see a slow game. UTSA will try to play somewhat fast. They're 119th, but North Texas is 311th. It's kind of a staple of their team going back for a while now. UTSA's Brent Moss has been injured. That's the only injury in the game. But again, this UTSA team is 345th. They're 4-14. They have 2 Division I wins because they played a couple of D2 teams. Beat Denver and beat Georgia Southern. Both those teams are hovering around 250. They also have some bad losses. This team lost to SIUE. This team lost to Texas State. They lost to Abilene Christian, South Alabama, and Rice. Now, one of those teams is in the top 200. With that said, they don't have any losses lower than 268, so I guess that's kind of good. The schedule's been sort of tough for UTSA. They're 127th. But North Texas is just without a doubt a better team. They're 133rd, 11-7 overall. Their worst loss is to Oregon State. It was by 2 points. It was on the road. Oregon State's 212. Their only other loss outside the top 100, however, is to number 103, Wichita State. Good wins over Tulsa. That was at home. Tulsa might be the best team in this conference. I don't know. They're 118th in strength of schedule, so it's a similar body of work, except they just have racked up far more wins than UTSA. And as far as stylistics go, UTSA plays a short lineup that can't rebound, 280th in height, 331st in rebounding. North Texas isn't great, but they're better than UTSA by almost 100 spots in both of those metrics. And they're also 138th in offensive rebounding, so you get a lot of extra possessions. UTSA can't shoot. They're 363rd in effective field goal percentage. That means there's only two teams worse than them. They shoot a ton of threes. No one shoots above 33%. That's Dorian Hayes. They try to play through their post, which is not going to work here against a taller team in North Texas, who's 78th defending the interior and 33rd defending overall. So very tough matchup. Don't expect UTSA to put up a lot of points, and they're the team that needs to play with some pace and get those extra opportunities. It's just a bad matchup overall. And then for everything North Texas does well, defensively, they're a horrible shooting team. 325th in effective field goal percentage. They're barely inside the top 300 for three-point rate. They're outside the top 300 in three-point percentage and two-point percentage. There's only one player with more than 36 three-point shots on the team. It's Jashawn Stevenson. He's at 29%. Most of the offense comes via rebounding and scrambling. Now, UTSA is not very good. They're 305th in total defense. Moss, who's injured, I'm not sure if he's going to play, was their best defender. North Texas can probably score a fair amount, but again, this team is very, very slow. Now, on the periphery, North Texas is 10th in turnovers, 4th. UTSA is 267th in turnovers committed. The transition play is also a worry, but fouls don't project to play a major role. Really reliant on this North Texas tempo doing a lot of the work in this game because efficiency could be there. But anyway, the model has UTSA at 58.2, North Texas at 75.1, so coming in pretty comfortably under this. It's one we played at a 137. Take the 138 if it is available to you. Mountain West game, another one towards the bottom in the grease. Fresno State, New Mexico. This one's actually okay. 14-point spread in favor of New Mexico, 148 total. Only injuries, Chris Howell for New Mexico. But Fresno State's 139th. They're 9-9 overall. Worst losses coming to USC Upstate by a point. Number 305 Cal State Bakersfield by 5. And Northridge by 2. They're number 204. All of those were 5-point losses or better. They do have 3 top 100 wins over Utah Valley, Stephen F. Austin, and Colorado State, but none of those teams are in the top 90, so we're talking back 10 really of the top 100. They have one road win, and it was against the horrific San Jose State. Fresno State is 119th in strength of schedule. New Mexico, one of the better teams in this conference, is 44th overall. They are 14-4. They only have one loss outside the top 100 to New Mexico State. Otherwise, Nebraska, Boise, San Diego State, excusable losses for the most part. They do have top 100 wins over Santa Clara, VCU, Colorado State, and Grand Canyon. So this is a pretty good body of work. They are 91st in strength of schedule. Stylistically, New Mexico was 72nd in height. Fresno was 81st. Rebounding, New Mexico just a little bit better there as well. Fresno State can't shoot. They are 220th in effective field goal percentage, 285th on the perimeter. Their rate stats are about average, so they're a little better inside. Their best shooter is Cameron Foss. He's at 35%, and their offense is just all over the board. I'm not sure they have a lot of success scoring here. New Mexico is 30th in total defense. They do have a slight weakness inside. They're 186th. But because of the way they play with their rim protection and Tomislav Buljan and JT Rock, they try to get you to shoot threes. Fresno State will shoot some, and they're not very good at it. So this is a pretty good matchup for New Mexico. But overall, it's not the best offensive matchup for Fresno State as far as scoring points goes. New Mexico is 98th in effective field goal percent, a little better inside where they're 79th. They're 166th in three-point percent, which is okay. They shoot a lot of them, though, 87th in three-point rate. It's basically just Jake Hall at 39% and Antonio Chol at 37%. Fresno State, for all their weaknesses, they're pretty good on defense. 48th overall. They're 8th on the perimeter, which matches up well against a New Mexico team that likes to shoot. And they're another team that is somewhat weak on the interior. They do have a 7-footer in Wilson Jaquez, but they're 321st in interior defense. A lot of the problems come via like pick and roll and stuff like that, which New Mexico is happy to use. So a little more worried about the scoring on the New Mexico side. I think they probably have some success. Fresno State also turns the ball over a lot. They're 312th in turnovers committed. New Mexico is 42nd in turnovers forced, which is a big edge for New Mexico. Fouls don't project to play a major role in this game, but if they do for whatever reason, New Mexico plays the deeper bench. Tempo in this game, both teams have been a little faster since conference play started. You have Fresno State at 166th, New Mexico, they're 74th. Actually, I reversed those stats. Both these teams have been a little slower since December 1st. Fresno State has dropped from 166 to 186. New Mexico has dropped from 74th to 80th. We played an under at 148 in this game. The score projection from the model, 64.9, 78.9. Obviously, New Mexico on top there. But again, pace has been a little slower. I don't think Fresno has any success scoring. Fresno on defense technically matches up kind of well against New Mexico if they're going to shoot a lot of threes. That's where Fresno is stronger on defense. But I think you could still beat this team via pick and roll and stuff like that. So that is my biggest worry in the game with this under that we already played. So to recap quickly, we took 3 games so far. I don't have anything extra on the board just yet. If you want anything extra, we do put it in Discord. We also project every single game, so scores, including sides, totals, team totals. We also go all the way down to the player level, which includes minutes, points, rebounds, assists, steals, you name it. It is in the Discord, which is linked below if you were interested. But we have 3 games. We took the under in Fresno State, New Mexico at 148, took the under in UTSA, North Texas at 137, took a bad number, and took Texas plus 7.5 against Kentucky. We'll add more throughout the day. But thank you guys for watching. It is much appreciated. Until next time, we will see you guys again tomorrow.